Relative to the rest of the world, football, or as we like to call it in the United States, soccer, is a sport with a less populated but growing fan base. Although fans of the US men's national team were disappointed that our nation was unable to qualify for the 2018 World Cup in Russia, our spirits were lifted when we heard news that the United States, along with Canada and Mexico, would be hosting the 2026 World Cup. A lot of the details surrounding the 2026 World Cup are still being decided, but I can say for sure that we're excited about it here in Seattle, and we're optimistic that matches will be played over here on the West Coast, potentially even in our own backyard. In order to preview the competition, I thought it would be interesting to take a career mode save, simulate it all the way up to 2026, and then do a World Cup simulation with the US men's national team. And if there's enough interest, I wouldn't mind doing a similar simulation with both Mexico and Canada. So if you guys are interested in that sort of thing, make sure to leave a like on this video. But without further ado, let's get into the simulation. And in the comment section below, let me know which player on the US men's national team you're most excited to see in 2026. Here we are in 2026, and I have to say we've been matched up in a fairly difficult group with the likes of England, Hungary, and Uruguay. You have to think that England will top the group, so it's going to be a battle for second. Before we play our first simulated match, I think it's time to introduce the squad that we will be using for this 2026 World Cup run. And in between the sticks, we have Zach Steffen, the Columbus Crew goalkeeper, still playing for the Columbus Crew, in fact, in 2026. He started at a 70 overall rating. He's now an 83 rating at 31 years old. Anthony Robinson will fill in at the left back position. The Bolton Wanderers fullback on loan from Everton is currently playing for PSG, starting at a 67 rating. He's now advanced to an 83 rating at 28 years old. John Brooks is a staple in the current US men's national team, and he's still going strong in 2026 at 33 years old. He's also made a transfer from Wolfsburg to Stoke City. He's gone up +5 in his rating from an 80 now to an 85. Cameron Carter-Vickers is an up-and-coming center back currently playing for Ipswich Town on loan from Spurs. In this simulation, he's now playing at West Brom, and his overall has changed from a 68 overall now to an 83 overall at 28 years old. We had a couple of options to choose from at the right back position, but I went with Shaq Moore. He's gone up +10 in his overall rating from a 69 to a 79 at 29 years old. He's also made a transfer from Levante to Ghent. We'll return to players from Major League Soccer with Tyler Adams filling in as one of our two center defensive mids. He has made a transfer from New York Red Bulls over to the Columbus Crew. Really interesting transfer there, and he's also massively increased in his overall rating from a 71 now to an 84 at 27 years old. Still some room for him to grow. And our young set of midfielders will continue with Weston McKennie. The Schalke center defensive mid has gone up +14 in his rating from a 70 now to an 84, also 27 years old. Andrew Carlton may have signed as a homegrown player for Atlanta, but he's now made the transfer to Anji Mahachkala, and his overall has gone up from a 65 now to an 81. He's the youngest player in our squad at only 25 years old, so he definitely has a couple of World Cups ahead of him. Anthony Fontana will fill in at the center attacking mid position, and he's remained at the Philadelphia Union for the entirety of this simulation. His overall has gone up +18 from a 61 to a 79. He's only 26 years old. Of course, I couldn't leave out Christian Pulisic in this team. The Dortmund star has remained at Dortmund. His overall's also gone up from a 79 to an 89, 27 years old in 2026. Josh Sargent may be a newcomer to the international scene, but he has bags of potential in career mode. And while he's currently playing at Werder Bremen, he's actually not in Werder Bremen in FIFA 18 career mode. So he's randomly selected into a team from the free agents. And by the time we reach 2026, he's made the transfer to Ajax, or maybe he stayed at Ajax for the entirety of the save. But that's where he is right now. His overall went from a 63 now to an 83. That's an incredible +20 to his overall, and he's still just 26 years old. Moving on to the substitutes and reserves, we'll start with our backup goalkeeper, Ethan Horvath, the Club Bruges goalkeeper, still at Club Bruges. His overall has seen a slight increase from a 70 now to a 77, and similar to Steffen, He's 31 years old. Danny Acosta is the first of two Acostas in this team, and the left back for RSL has made the transfer to Athletic Bilbao. Is overall also seeing an increase from a 66 now to an 80, and he's also 28 years old. Orn Gaines is a player that I don't know too much about personally, but similar to some of the other players that have featured in this side, like McKennie and Sargent, he is currently in the Bundesliga, or the second Bundesliga, with Darmstadt, but since that time, he's now made the transfer to Norwich. So overall, going from a 62 to a 77, 28 years old in this save. We have a couple players from the Sounders that feature for the US men's national team, but Christian Roldan will be the only one to appear in this simulation as a substitute. He's now made the transfer overseas to Marseille, and his overall has gone up from a 73 now to a 79. 31 years old in this save means that he is one of the older players in this side, but he'll provide a bit of experience. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Those of you that follow Major League Soccer will know of Kellen Acosta. He's a very versatile player that can feature as a midfielder or even a fullback in a couple of different teams, and he's made the transfer from Dallas to the New York Red Bulls, and his overall has also seen an increase from 72 now to an 80 at 30 years old. Tim Way is an exciting new player to the US men's national team. A lot of people will know him as the son of George Weah, but he's building a name for himself. The new signing for PSG is still at PSG in this save, and his overall has seen an increase from a 60 now to a 77. He's also fairly young, only 26 years old, so he still has some room to grow. Haji Wright is another Bundesliga talent that has had some stints with the New York Cosmos here in the United States, but he's now returned back to his permanent club at Schalke. He was previously on loan at Sandhausen, and his overall has seen a massive increase from 64 now to a 79, 28 years old as of 2026. Matt Miazga is another player that has some roots in Major League Soccer, but he made a big move to Chelsea a couple of years ago, and he's featured on loan a couple of times, currently playing at Vitesse, but he's now made the transfer to Wolfsburg in this simulation. His overall going from a 73 now to an 80, and he's at 30 years old. Former Sounders and current Newcastle fullback DeAndre Yedlin will of course feature in this side as well. He's getting up there in age now at 32, and as a result his pace has gone down, but he's still a formidable option to choose from here in the substitutes and reserves. He's made the transfer from Newcastle to Hanover, and his overall has seen a slight increase from a 76 to a 78. One of the fun things about Career Mode is when the game auto-generates players, and the final 3 players to feature will be auto-generated by the game. I think that ties into the simulation as well, because there are very likely some players out there that haven't yet hit the international radar and will be up-and-coming talents within the next 8 years. But Ben Mines will be the first of the players featured, current player for CSKA Moscow. Overall rating is 77 at 26 years old. Keaton Parks is a versatile center mid playing for Benfica, has an overall rating of 80 at 28 years old. Ayo Akinola is probably my favorite of the regenerated players because of his 99 acceleration and 99 sprint speed. He will be rapid coming off the bench in reserves. He is playing for Lorient, and he has an overall rating of 79 at 26. After much anticipation, we'll get into our first simulated match against England, the most difficult team in our group. A result here would be huge for us, and getting underway, can already tell it's going to be an aggressive match. Dele Alli netting a yellow card in the first minute, but Harry Kane buries a chance in the 15th minute, much like he's doing in the 2018 World Cup. We'll go into the halftime break with a 1-0 England lead. A couple of substitutions happening from both sides, but it's Marcus Rashford to make it 2-0 for England. It was kind of expected for England to be the top team in this group, and they are definitely showing that with a 3-0 result, courtesy of a Rashford brace and a Harry Kane goal. Despite the loss, we're sitting in an alright group position. Hungary and Uruguay drew, and that's probably the second best result that could have happened for us. The best result would have been Hungary getting the win because, in my opinion, they're the weakest team in our group, and I could easily see ourselves winning. But as long as we win our matches against Hungary and Uruguay, we should be able to advance to the knockout stages. But it's crucial for us not to think too far ahead. We first need to get results against Hungary and Uruguay, and we'll get into our match against Hungary with a second-minute goal, but we're able to answer right back, courtesy of Fontana. We're now on the board, the U.S. men's national team pushing to make its fans proud here at the 2026 World Cup. We're playing in front of home fans. They're traveling across the country, and we're now in the lead against Hungary. We've made it 3-1 courtesy of goals from Fontana, Carlton, and Sargent. We will be getting that 3-1 result and our first 3 points in the group. After that round of action, no surprise, England sitting top of the group, but we have leapfrogged Uruguay and Hungary to now sit second in the group, and that is enough for us to advance to the round of 16. All we need to do is get a win against Uruguay, and we'll be through. There's a lot of pressure on this match. We'll see if this young US men's national team can deliver. And it's been a nervy couple of minutes, 20 minutes in, and still no action yet, but it's Carlton to get another goal, and Sargent follows up not long afterwards. We're going to the halftime break with a 2-0 result. Carlton buries a penalty. He seems to be the goal scorer for the U.S. men's national team, and that's interesting. Pushing up from that left mid position and just bagging goal after goal. What a result this has been, though. We've now made it 4-0, courtesy of a goal of Acosta. And the U.S. men's national team is through to the round of 16. That had to have been the goal going into this tournament. Now that the group stages have completed, we'll take a look at some of the other groups and see which nations have progressed in the competition. France finishing top of their group, Belgium also advancing through to the round of 16 in Group A. Group C, we'll see Portugal and Turkey go through. Unfortunately, Chile and China dipping out of the competition. Group D has Argentina and New Zealand going through. Big surprise there to see New Zealand finish above both Switzerland and Bulgaria. I guess they have a couple of promising young players that have fulfilled that potential. Group E will see Spain and Norway go through over Egypt and Denmark. For Group F, we have Italy and Cote d'Ivoire going through over Romania and Canada. That's unfortunate, as another one of the host nations in Canada. And then over in Group G, we have Germany sweeping the board, going through on 9 points. Also Cameroon, Wales and Australia, unfortunately, dipping out of the competition. And finally, Group H, we have Brazil and South Africa going through. Netherlands and Czech Republic did not advance. Unfortunately, our draw did not do us any favors, and we matched up against France in the round of 16, arguably the strongest side in this simulation because they have a lot of young, high-potential players. But we did hold strong in the first couple of minutes of this simulation. You can see really no action in the first 20 minutes or so, but Tolisso did get France their first goal in the 18th minute. And notice I did say first goal because it was the first of many. Mbappe scoring in the 46th, and that was all to be expected. He's one of the top strikers right now in Ligue 1, and by this point, he's pretty much become one of the best players in the world. Lamar made it 3 for France in the 84th minute, and unfortunately, that will see the U.S. men's national team's dream in the World Cup come to an end. But to see them get out of this group was pretty awesome, considering the difficulty of our group. We started off rough against England, but then we picked up 2 big results against Hungary and Uruguay, and ultimately, we made the round of 16, which, in my opinion, would have been the goal going into the competition. Now, I'm sure you're wondering who ended up winning the World Cup, and it was Italy who put up a strong defensive performance against France in the final, winning the World Cup final 1-0. So you could say that Italy, their characteristics have pretty much stayed the same. I feel like Italy's always known to have a strong defense, and in 2026, that appears to still be the case. Looking through some of our individual player statistics for the U.S. men's national team, we have Carlton, who scored 3 goals throughout the World Cup, Sargent following him with 2 goals, and Fontana netting 1 goal for himself. As for assists, we had 1 from Fontana, as well as Carter Vickers, Adams, and Christian Pulisic. But what's really interesting to me are the top accolades across all nations, and Marcus Rashford showed up in 2026. In only 4 games for England, he netted 6 goals, and that's pretty much unheard of in the World Cup, so fair play to him. Harry Kane also being the joint top assist maker with Lamar and Havertz with 4 assists. Clean sheets, it went to Donnarumma. No surprise there. Italy were strong defensively in the final. It looks like they were strong defensively in the entire World Cup. I think that's going to wrap things up for today's simulation. Something a little bit different, but if you guys enjoyed this concept and want to see another run through with Mexico or Canada, feel free to let me know in the comment section and interact with the poll in the top right of your screen where you can vote for the next team that I do a simulation with. But with that said, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you're new around here. But until next time, this has been Flick. I'll be talking to you guys again soon.